Hello and welcome to the Sprouted Dreams podcast. I'm Abigail, your fairy godmother, helping you with a few last-minute spring maintenance tips. Before everything gets going into complete growth and color of the springtime, you may want to touch up a few of your older miniatures. Many times I get asked if my items are safe for outdoor use. And yes, most of my items are. But all items, if they're outside, take some maintenance year by year to keep them going and help to maintain their structure and their color. Wind, rain, pets, or insects, or sometimes just even contact with the soil can deteriorate our miniatures. Therefore, in the springtime, at least, if not twice a year, it's nice to give them a little bit of care. Examine all of your pieces and clean them off with a mild soap or just some tepid water and a soft toothbrush. Look for any cracks or paint damage. See if the structure is all okay. If it looks like it is getting some corrosion from touching the soil, you may want to lift pieces up off of the soil. This can be done with small flat stones for a natural look, or you may want to hang them up higher on a fence or a tree, or perhaps glue them to something like a stone or a piece of concrete. In this way, they will not come into contact with the soil and it will help extend their life. If you have some pieces that have cracks or paint flaking, now is the time to sand those areas down and repaint as best you can with an acrylic paint and a small paintbrush, or sometimes even a toothpick works well. Once the area has been sanded and repainted, you need to seal it. And all of your pieces, all over, even if they're in perfect shape, will need some sealing. So this process works best for resin pieces, plastic pieces, or wood pieces. If you have an area that you have sanded and repainted, you can oftentimes get away with a light touch of clear matte spray paint. This is the easiest way to seal your pieces, but it is not the best. And we'll go over those procedures next. But if you just need a quick way to give a bit of structure and sealant to your colorful plastic, resin, or even sometimes ceramic pieces can be done with this process. But if you have ceramic, I have a better way, so keep that in mind. The next best way is to seal your colored pieces with polyurethane. You can use a gloss, satin, or matte polyurethane to seal your colorful painted miniatures with. This will give a nice clear coat and it will seal it well. You can do this with a paintbrush or a foam brush, and these are all water-based sealants with polyurethane, and they should not give any sort of discoloration. Just take your time and try to paint with thin coats rather than thick, heavy ones. Rinse your brush in between use with water, and it should work just fine. Be sure to let them completely dry in between coats, because if you make a very heavy coating without at least 12 hours in between coats, you can end up with a milky look. It'll almost look white. And you'll see that if you apply it too thickly. So keep that in mind. If you have wood pieces or some ceramic pieces, the very best sealant for outdoor use is varathane spar urethane. This is an oil-based sealant for outdoor use, and it is difficult to apply. It will drip and it will yellow, but it will seal your wood pieces the very best that they can be sealed. If you have purchased any of my fairy doors that are wood, you will see it in your care instructions that I include in each piece to seal them once a year with oil-based varathane spar urethane. So if you want to use this on your pieces, it will be a one-time use If you use a brush, I would not recommend using a foam brush. I would recommend acrylic bristle brushes or any type of broad application. You can even apply it just with gloves on. This does not smell good, and everything that you use or touch, it will ruin. So not an easy process, but well worth it, in my opinion, because it seals so well. It will need several days to cure, and be sure to use several days between coats if you use more than one coat. So there are my recommendations for your spring maintenance. And this can be done twice a year, and it can be done quarterly if you're using the clear matte spray paint, because that is not going to hold up. Many times people try to use a clear gloss or satin spray paint, and this is really your worst option because it's going to flake and peel. And oftentimes when it peels off from just being out in the sun, it's going to carry some of the paint with it. So you're going to end up with worse paint chipping than you had to start with. I would not recommend satin or gloss spray paint, only matte spray paint if you're going to use that at all. There is your project for this week for all of your little miniatures, and I will see you again next week. Until then, happy fairy gardening. This podcast has been brought to you by Sprouted Dreams. Please head over to sprouteddreams.com and you will find all the fairy garden miniatures and maintenance tips that you need at sprouteddreams.com.